everybody, and welcome to episode 2, week 2, season 2 of the Got Culture Game of Thrones recap. Now, because we've got to do a lot of weeks of this, I have come up with a jingle.
Ooh.
Now, are you familiar with Transformers? The original Transformers song?
Yeah.
Right, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do Got Culture, but like Transformers, and I need you two to join in with that bit, and then I'll do the next bit, okay?
Got it.
So, ready?
Okay.
Got Culture!
Game of Thrones is nice. There we go. Welcome to Got Culture, everybody.
Very good.
Maybe more of those weeks on weeks. Now, this is season 2. We are recapping because there is only, count them, 6 weeks to go. Ish, depending on when this goes out, until Game of Thrones, the final season, arrives in our eyes, our ears, our mouths, probably our rectums. Now, boys, season 2. In James's words, the bad season. He said that before we came on, didn't he?
I didn't think it was
bad season. Why'd you hate season 2?
Well, that's just... Isn't it?
There, you see, you can egg him on.
No, I don't dislike season 2. I think it's a really good season still, but just one of the weaker ones.
In the context of the quality of the show, it doesn't quite deliver.
Yeah, the weaker seasons for me are 2, 5, and 7.
Ooh.
Just, to go off on one now. One of the reasons I think season 2 is weaker is because it's kind of like a transitional season, which 5 and 7 have a bit as well, and there's just so many characters coming in, so much world building.
Yeah.
And that's important for later down the line, but it doesn't necessarily mean as strong a season.
Well, we'll get into all the ins and outs of it, but the core here, the main narrative thrust of season 2 is that the Starks have declared war on the Lannisters. Robb is king of the North, and they've captured Jaime, and Robb's this amazing general who knew out of nowhere. But at the same time, the Stark children are being held, sort of, in King's Landing. Sansa's having a very, very bad time. Joffrey really emerges as a quality character.
Yeah.
Well, not, you know what I mean.
Very early on in season 2, Cersei just realizes, I have no control over him anymore. when she slaps him and he goes, I could have you killed for that now.
I've spoke to my mother like that before. Let's none of us around this table pretend we haven't. What was the best thing about season 2 for you? Like, was it the war? Was it the subplots? Was it the emergence of the characters? You said there's a lot of new characters brought in. What is the main thing that stands out in your minds?
Fire, wildfire. Call me a pyromaniac, but that bit with the ships and the wildfire, whoa, always gets me a little bit excited. That
I'm glad you've got your notes, because the last week we did this, you were like, the thrones and the games and stuff.
I was chatting to James about season 3 earlier on this week, and I forgot what the Unsullied were called and just called them that army with no. So I've made a few notes this week.
What everybody else calls them. I think it's quite interesting this season because I did say. We'll come back. I realise I haven't asked you the question I just asked Rob. We'll come back to that. When we did season 1, when I sort of recapped and watched a few bits back, I couldn't believe how long ago that felt, how it felt like a completely different show. But yet, I was expecting season 2 to feel like that. But when I was watching it, I was like, no, this is... Sure, I thought this was all like in the middle. This is all 4 and 5, isn't it? So my perception of time with this show... Sorry, go on. What was your answer?
I don't even know what the question was now.
What stands out to you most when you think back about season 2?
I'm with Wilbourn. It is Blackwater and kind of the build up to that, and then things go boom and the screen and
We'll get to Blackwater specifically because I've got a couple of questions I want to ask you about that. But James, you said a lot of new characters are introduced in this. Who in particular do you think has the best introduction? Or possibly not the best. Certainly the one who the most important character.
I think you've got Pod for Wilbourn over there.
Oh, man.
Marjorie becomes very important. Brienne still really important. Stannis and Davos come into it. So
that was another thing.
Melisandre.
I thought Marjorie came in way later.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe she was introduced in season 2.
Yeah,
everybody's been around forever, haven't they?
Well, not for much longer.
No, not for much longer.
Melisandre, I think, has arguably the most memorable moments in season 2 of a new character. I distinctly remember when Stannis impregnates her, and then obviously it's got an official name, the evil spirit that goes and kills Renly.
The shadow baby.
the shadow baby, smoke baby.
The vagina terror.
I remember that distinctly watching it the first time around because it was when I was blitzing all of the second season. And my housemate at the time came home and said, what are you watching? And I was like, it's Game of Thrones. I'm watching it to catch up in time for, I think it was season 5 or whatever it was. And he went, I've never watched this. I'll watch a bit. And it was literally the moment she birthed the smoke baby. And I don't know if that's the best or the worst introduction to Game of Thrones.
Has the show ever quite gone back to that level of just, like, not to say horror, perfectly natural thing, but just, it in a way it did peak with her birthing a ghost baby after getting nailed over a table.
Yeah.
It's never quite. I think it gets
the
a bit
high
of
point.
it gets a bit of a reputation for scenes like that, but it hasn't really done them since 2012. So,
Yeah. Fun fact about that scene: I've been to those caves.
oh, aye.
And there's a photo of me pretending to give birth in those caves.
That will be displayed on screen and never. Yeah, it's
We
just.
should tweet that out though.
I mean, you should tweet that out if you've got it.
I do have it.
There you go. Yeah, you've completely thrown me now. I've got this mental image of the ghost baby. Because the reason he burst the ghost baby is because he wants to kill Marjorie's brother, whose name escapes me.
No, he wants to kill his own brother.
Oh God,
Yeah,
yeah.
he wants to kill
Marjorie's. It's Marjorie's husband.
Yeah.
Even though Renly, and then God, yeah, the webs we weave in this show. Yeah, he wants to kill because then he's got the take for the throne.
Yeah.
This is effectively the war of the Five Kings.
Yeah.
God, why haven't I got my notes like you? Does it really feel like that, or does it very much in season 2 just feel like Lannisters versus Starks?
I think it starts to, especially by the end, it's bubbling up more with Stannis coming into it. Because obviously it's Stannis v Joffrey for Blackwater. But I think at the beginning it's still the focus. You're thinking, oh, this is Robb's war. This is Robb's war against the Lannisters. He could team up with Renly and they could then take over. And obviously then Renly goes and yeah.
He goes.
Yes.
He's murdered by the scary vagina ghost.
Murdered
Yes.
by a... Yeah.
After Marjorie offers to bring her brother in to help him impregnate her. I remember that scene.
It's quite, yeah.
I my brother to come in here to, give you a hand.
Again, is there a reputation the show's earned from season 2 that's never properly quite been lived up to? Again, one of the nice contrasts we have here is that you caught up on everything like I did, but you watched it all at the time.
Yeah.
Can you just sort of discuss between yourselves for a minute the difference between doing this week by week, not knowing where any of it's going to go, and sort of the difference between, all these characters go on for, because, they're in other seasons and stuff, and you sort of roughly know which direction the plot, certainly what it's building to anyway. What's the shared experience you have or don't have?
This transition I found from moving from, there's all these episodes to watch, to you're only allowed one a week.
Yeah.
The obvious one is, of course, half the time you watch, especially in the early seasons, you watch and you go, oh my God, I want to find out what happened next. And I just could. Presumably for you, you had a lot more time to sort of allow it to percolate and think about all the potential ramifications of everything that happened.
Percolate.
Where does he pull that from?
Book club's paying off, isn't it?
The word of the day, toilet paper. Yeah. But then also, I found that not only was it you were desperate to find out what happened, but also, arguably for me, the stakes weren't as high because, like Adam says, some people I sort of knew through advertising or through ever, even if they're in a bit of a sticky situation, I was like, well, they've been advertised. I've seen them advertised for season 5 or whatever. But what was that like for you?
Yeah, it's obviously very different because you just don't know. Like, you watch the Shadow Baby come out and you're like, what was that? What happened? And there's no one to tell you.
Shadow Baby, mate.
Like, unless you go read book spoilers, you don't know. And then
had you read all the books prior to watching the show, or did you sort of do it concurrently?
So I've watched season 1 and 2, and that's when I started reading the books after that.
Interesting. When did you get them all finished? Before
season 5, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Commitment.
What's that like?
It's interesting.
Jesus, hey. So, Ryan, you watched the show when it was pretty much bang on accurate with the books, and then by the time you finished reading the books, the show was starting to divert.
So
Jesus, that must have been absolutely crazy.
It worked quite well because you get kind of 2 different storytelling experiences, so it's kind of more interesting in a sense. But
the war is obviously the main thing that runs through the thing. Obviously, we get the main thing that runs through the thing. God, you can tell I'm presenting this really early in the morning. But we've also got. I know I'm trying. The problem is, again, with this, it stays hot for too long. So I made this 10 minutes ago because I had the lid on. I'm still just like, oh, tiny little sips of scalding lava. We have all the stuff going on in King's Landing. Joffrey sort of emerges as a character. We get a lot more of Sansa. How well do you think the show balances the whole, the size and the spectacle and the grittiness of this war with sort of the comfortable living and the internal politics and the sort of soap opera in King's Landing? Did it feel equal, or did it feel jarring at all?
No, I think it does a pretty good job, especially when you start to get towards the riots of King's Landing and stuff like that, and they try to rape Sansa basically. So I think they do a good balance of showing kind of what the small folk are doing and how they're rebelling a bit.
I'm really glad you went first, because I was going to say, all the death and stuff is a nice bit of spice to the boring politics side of things. And oh bloody hell, here we are in Carth. Yeah, we're all rich here. It's pretty nice, isn't it? But I think you probably put it a little bit better there. Yeah, the impending doom for almost every character is a nice reminder every now and again. You think, oh, just get on with this.
King's Landing, Westeros is obviously the main focal point of the thing, but we also get Jon going north of the Wall for the very first time. He sort of meets the wildlings. There's that. It sort of opens up the world a lot more in season 2. What did you make of the whole sort of like beyond the wall aspect of it? Did it feel like it was part of the same show to you? Did it hold your interest as well as it does in later seasons?
I think it held me interest. It does feel different because it's like this setting you've seen nothing like it really. It's just like these snowy vistas, and you're meeting very different kinds of characters. Because even say the Starks and the Lannisters have different views, they're still of the same like realm. They still follow broadly the same rules. But then you meet the wildlings, who are just unlike anyone else we've met so far. So it does kind of go off in its own direction, really. But
I really enjoy it when they cut back and forth to them freezing their asses off, having no food, and then it cuts to Karth, and they're obviously just living the best life ever. But yeah, I really enjoyed the stuff north of the Wall as much as I hated Craster. Yeah, that's his name. Craster and all his bloody daughters and giving his sons away to the... Yeah, it's a horrible
God,
moment.
is season 2 the most rank season?
Well, one thing I noted down because I remembered watching it because I watched it like last week, and one thing you've probably forgotten is the rat bucket thing when they're in Harrenhal. So they're torturing people, and they put a bucket on someone's chest, and you think, what they do with a rat on, and you go, well, that's not going to do much good. And then they put a torch underneath it, and the rat just burrows through someone's chest, and that's just like a daily occurrence there. They're questioning people. No one knows anything, so they just kill them with a rat in a bucket.
We also get the White Walkers in season 2. Probably the first. I mean, they are briefly alluded to in season 1, but as we discussed last week, they're kind of forgotten about. Really, it's very easy to forget they're a thing. But then, lo and behold, in season 2, they're a mystical force. They're there. They're sort of, when you get a scale of the threat they pose, or the number, or how wicked and mystical and evil and cold they are. But they are there.
Well, right at the end of season 2, you suddenly think, oh, bloody hell, everything I've been watching is kind of unimportant compared to this massive army that they've got now coming that Sam obviously sees right at the very end. But yeah, you have the glimpse of him when he leaves the baby, obviously, to just sacrifice to the Night King. But yeah, you don't realise how inconsequential everything is until you really see that last image at the end of season 2, and you suddenly think, yeah, maybe concentrate less on fighting with each other and forming all these armies and worry about what's beyond the wall.
But still, like 5 seasons before that actually becomes a thing. Like, I'm hesitant to do big overarching questions about the entire show, but I want to ask you this anyway. Do you think the slow build of them as a threat in the show is well done, or do you think it's too slow?
No, I think it's well done because I think people want to focus on the politics and the wars between the families. And then every season or so often, they just give you this little reminder of, yeah, this is coming. And then you they do enough, so you forget about it and you go back to the Starks and Lannisters, and then you get to somewhere like Hardhome, and you've the White Walkers exist, but you haven't really paid that much attention to them. And then all hell breaks loose, and I think it's much more effective because of that.
Yeah, I really like it as a little every now and again reminder, because you can go a good couple of episodes where you get heavily invested in the minutiae of people facing off against each other, the little politics of, like you say, of who's going to sit on the Iron Throne or whatever, or people, Theon betraying Robb, and then every now and again, especially as we go further and further forward throughout the seasons, it's just like, by the way, this really doesn't matter. If you're worried about this one character maybe being, Tyrion no longer being the hand of the king or whatever, it's really not that important in the whole grand scheme of things, because don't forget about these guys.
We actually do get Tyrion finally back in King's Landing in this season after his misadventures with Bronn all over the place, and you sort of finally see the conflict between him and Cersei, between him and Joffrey. Does it get any better than this?
What, for Tyrion?
No, like for the power triangle Lannister problem.
Maybe not. I think this is definitely probably my favourite Tyrion season. I think he maybe has better moments down the line, like when you get to see his big speech in season 4. But across the whole season, Tyrion is incredible. The way he manipulates everyone, that scene where he's telling Varys, Littlefinger and Pycelle where Mycella's going to go.
Yeah.
That is when I think of Tyrion, that is what I remember.
When they cut off his beard.
Yeah.
Master Pycelle's beard. Yeah, I really like him then. Him in the Battle of the Blackwater is an obvious thing to point to, but
we shall get to the Battle of the Blackwater.
It's a real moment for me. But yeah, it was nice when he came back and like Tywin's given him the role of Hand of the King. You think, hey, maybe things are looking up for him, and then no, his dad turns up and goes, yeah, sod all that, get him out of the his nice room, put him in this little hut or whatever. So it's the peak. But in terms of the family politics, I'd say this season and maybe the following season are the most where they're sort of at odds with each other.
How important does Tywin feel this season? Because I do all my strongest Tywin memories are involving him when he sort of basically takes over the war effectively for Joffrey, when he wins the war for Joffrey. But here we're not quite there with that yet. He's very much still sort of the retired head of the family, so sort of overseeing, advising, things like that. But he's still Tywin.
You forget he's a bastard in parts of season 2.
Yeah.
Like when he's got Arya as his cupbearer and he's just sort of having a chat and going, "Oh, don't worry. Actually, I'm not going to finish
tension
this.
in that.
I'm not going to finish this bit of chicken. Do you want it?" And she's just got like a knife going, "Shall I just stab him in the throat? Will I be able to do this?" And I think it's season 2. Yeah, season 2 when Littlefinger comes to visit as well.
Yeah.
And so the tension there of not just Arya and her going, I'm the cupbearer for the guy who's on the list, the kill list, but also suddenly, oh good, Littlefinger's here, and I really hope he doesn't notice.
It's not even
pour drinks out for him.
It's not even the kill list. It's the man who's waging war against my family, of which I am the daughter.
And he's nice to her. He's a really nice guy, to be fair.
If there's one storyline I could have back and they would give more time to flesh out, I would love to have done more Tywin Arya stuff. I mean, I know it says Arya the Hound and all this, but I honestly thought he obviously sees like the potential in it, because we don't know at that point that Arya is going to become, this master assassin, this incredibly devious weapon of war. Obviously, I think Tywin must see that potential in her somewhere, and I think maybe that's what that's about. Given effectively his children he had one son who was a great warrior, then this conniving evil daughter, and then Tyrion. You know what I mean? So he must obviously look at Arya as perhaps one of the children he wished he'd had.
I think he basically says that, doesn't he? He says, "I wish some of my children would take after you." When she talks to him and sort of gives away a position a little bit from being like a cupbearer to suddenly knowing strategy and stuff when it comes to war and taking out your enemies. But
has anyone got a good Tywin impression, by the way?
No.
That's rubbish, that.
Do you?
Bring me my cup.
Christ almighty.
I haven't practiced that.
No way.
No.
Sure. Meanwhile, over the river in Essos, Daenerys is having an absolute nightmare. Probably as bad as things get for her in this season. Well, certainly over the course of a season. She's without a Dothraki. She's being... I don't know, she's basically just biding her time, waiting for
death.
Nice thing. Yeah, effectively waiting for death. People are trying to steal her dragons. It's not going particularly well. As the character development for her goes, how important is this season?
Crucial, I think. I think you really see her go from... We saw her last season go from being, as I mentioned, someone who's just there for her brother to take the throne to developing as leader of the Dothraki. But this one is where she's really tested. Obviously, she's out there. She's got what's left of the people who support her. They're going to die in the desert somewhere. Then they go to Karth.
Everyone's trying to marry her.
Everyone. Is it Daxos, the rich git? Who just got? I've got loads of money in this vault. Don't look inside it, but trust me, there's loads of money in there. There's that, and it feels like her. She's always got an eye to returning and taking the throne, but it feels like she's just getting bogged down in a lot of things here. And then obviously the dragons are taken. Where are my dragons? And then the conclusion to that storyline just reminds you of like, oh yeah, she's a badass. Like that moment when she goes to the House of the Undying and she's tested, and she has all the flashbacks or whatever you want to call them, and decides that no, she's not going to stay. She's going to go and achieve her purpose. And then obviously Dracarys.
Does she go through the biggest character change in this season out of everybody?
I don't know.
I do genuinely feel who Daenerys is at the start of season 2 is the furthest removed from who she is at the end.
It's either her or Theon.
Theon's not a bad shout.
Theon you forget about, because Theon initially is obviously at Rob's side, is sent home to get ships, goes back to his family, finger blasts his sister.
On a horse.
Weird
flex, but...
okay. Obviously, all he wants is his dad's approval, who could not care less. He goes, he takes Winterfell, betrays Rob, kills, as you... that was another thing where you mentioned earlier about thinking. I never thought Brandon and Rickon were dead because I knew elements of it were still being hinted at. But yeah, there's that moment where I think it's the end of one of the episodes. There's just the two charred bodies being hung up, and presumably for you, that must have been like, two more Stark kids are dead.
But obviously, in the mindset you must have been in watching season 2, 2 burned alive children.
It's just
Not really. It's not
normal now.
no
Isn't
big
it?
thing, is it?
But,
Not like they were like having giant, terrifying black ghosts come out.
Yeah,
of
that's it.
people's fannies.
Once you've seen that.
Once you've seen that, you've seen it all.
But yeah, to go back to Daenerys, I think it is a big change, but I also don't think the storyline's very well done. I think this is one of maybe the weakest stories the show has done as a whole.
Go on.
I think it's so meandering, like it's like
It does very much feel
it
like
gets to an important point at the end, and even that I have some slight issues with because of how they do the House of Undying stuff. But it's really kind of boring.
What issues do you have with the House of the Undying stuff?
Mostly just how much they cut from the books.
Go on,
Oh,
fill us in. Fill us in, because this is just about drinkable now.
Just in the books, it's a lot more about prophecy, and she sees far more.
Right.
So it goes back to, and you see flashes of the Mad King, you see flashes of Rhaegar. There's stuff about, like, you see Rhaegar's death, and he whispers, like, a woman's name. And then you see, like, there's a shot of, like, the wall, and this blue flower growing out of it, which is, like, signifying Jon and Lyanna and Rhaegar. There's foreshadowing of the Red Wedding. There's just so much stuff about prophecy and foreshadowing.
There's foreshadowing of the Red Wedding.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, there's, like, you see, like, a feast with, like, cups and stuff, and, like, all the wedding guests, like, killed. And, like, that's in, like, book 2. So you're like, well, what's this?
God.
And then...
Wow.
So yeah, I feel like it's just got a lot more to it. And in the show, it's kind of like, here's some nice imagery, but doesn't quite have that same level of weight.
I have a question for you both, and I know exactly. It comes with a caveat.
Right.
What is your favourite episode of season 2 that isn't Blackwater? Hey, it's a good question. I'll try to rephrase that to make it slightly easier. What is your favourite moment in season 2 which isn't the Battle of the Blackwater?
2 blasts of a horn, 3 blasts
I
of a
thought you were
horn.
going to say finger blast of
No,
a sister.
no.
Either the conversation between Tywin and Arya, or the one I mentioned earlier where Tyrion's playing Littlefinger, Varys, and Pycelle.
I nearly just said, Tyrion's speech at the Battle of Blackwater, which obviously would not be allowed.
No, that's part of the Battle of the Blackwater.
Yeah, obviously. I'm going to go with, if I'm not allowed any fire, I'm going to go with the moment where there's the one blast. That's thingy. They're coming back. No, it's 2 blasts. It's wildlings. 3rd blast. Run! I just love that moment, and then they just leave Sam in the dust, basically. Bye.
Yeah.
We haven't touched on this yet. My favourite stuff is I don't know if I call it a dynamic, but kind of the implications, how important the small moment between Catelyn and Jaime is, where she secretly frees him for her daughters, because this is the prize capture. I mean, other than Tywin, you could not capture a bigger prisoner in that war, and they've got Jaime Lannister, but they've also got her 2 daughters. Now, she has no guarantees whatsoever that if he gets to King's Landing, he'll do anything other than just behead his 2 children.
It's just Littlefinger being a git again.
You know what I mean? But yet she frees him. Like, she gives away the Stark's biggest bargaining chip on a wing and a prayer. And it's Catelyn Stark. He's not an idiot. You know what I mean? It's Catelyn Stark.
Yeah, you can see it. You can justify what she's done for a variety of ways. If you're a fan of Rob's, you're obviously furious as he was, and he knows that he can't do what he'd do to literally anyone else who'd freed him, i.e. murder them.
Yeah.
But in her eyes, yes, they've got her children. Littlefinger lies and basically says, yeah, they're alive and well. Don't worry, just send him back and you'll get him back. But it's also, arguably, she doesn't really have a choice either, because she either sends him or just moves him elsewhere, because that moment where he kills the fellow prisoner and they're up in arms and they just want to kill him. And I think Brienne of Tarth says he won't last the night, basically. And that's the moment when she's like, well, you may as well take a punt on this one.
Yeah, I think Rob and Catelyn both make a lot of mistakes here, and they both need a lot of blame for what happens, because Rob obviously breaks his marriage pact to House Frey and marries Talisa.
So that doesn't come back to bite him at any point.
No,
so,
that's fine. And you probably see that in Catelyn thinking, this is not going to end well. He's not listening to us, so if I do this, maybe this is my only chance. But then you are letting Jaime Lannister go, so
it does kind of get.
Says, I don't want to marry Walder Frey's daughter, and I was go, Well, you probably should.
It's just, it kind of gets glossed over because of how much goes on afterwards. But the seedlings of the Red Wedding and the way the war goes and so much stuff that lasts 3, 4, 5 seasons later just comes from a few small decisions Rob Stark, who doesn't even live into these seasons, makes in season 2. Now, I know you said season 2 feels a bit like a placeholder season. Things are sort of treading water, but a lot of things happen which have huge implications for the rest of the show.
Is it? Do you find it a bit of a placeholder? Sorry, before we get to that, because a lot of the battles are off. You don't see them, and obviously in later seasons we've seen all the battles in their bloody glory. But it's like, oh, we're going to go to have a battle. Cut to immediately post battle, or a load of dead people, and then actually they've realised that they've just sacrificed men so they could capture Jaime, of course.
No, I wouldn't really say it's a placeholder. I'd say it's more just because it's like setting things in transition for the payoffs in, say, season 3 and 4 at this point, and just means season 2 doesn't quite work as well. And later down the line, looking back now, it is stronger because you know where it's all building to. But at the time, I don't think you quite get that.
Right, I'm going to do it now. Let's talk about the Battle of the Blackwater. Was this the moment that the show established itself as like unmissable, must-watch Hollywood TV?
No.
Go on.
I don't think that happened until the Red Wedding. I still think the Red Wedding is the moment something really turned, like, culturally with Game of Thrones. Blackwater is incredible, and maybe, gave the show a boost, but I still don't think it was quite where the Red Wedding took it.
For me, it was arguably the first moment where I became more aware of Game of Thrones outside of, mates just saying, oh, we watch Game of Thrones is really good, because it was the gif of the ship exploding and all that. I saw that everywhere and kind of thought, what's this all about? This looks pretty good. I don't know. I still don't really know to this day why I didn't start watching then. But yeah, I think it was the moment I became a lot more aware of it. And then obviously, because it's one of those things where even if you're not watching a TV show, there's people referring to it or paying homage to it where you suddenly go, oh, everyone's kind of talking about this. I should probably get on this. And that was, for me, was the Battle of the Blackwater.
During the first time I really sort of didn't start watching. Obviously, I didn't start watching until much later when I got all the DVDs and stuff. But the first time I became aware of it as a big cultural thing, I was flicking through a load of channels, and I saw my mate Sam Parker, who's at Esquire now, I think, on Sky One, talking about something on TV, and I was like, "Hell's why Sam on TV?" And he was doing a Game of Thrones like best moments ever thing for Sky One. It was like him, Grace Dent, load of the people. I was like, "The hell's Sam?" And I was messaging him, I was like, "You're on Sky One?" He's like, "Oh yeah, just do stuff about Game of Thrones." And I was like, "I should watch that at some point." Smash cut to me begging you for all the DVDs in this office a few years later. I was for me. I think that sort of feels when I started watching it back when you did give me all the DVDs. That was, I think, the wildfire moment was the part I was like, yeah, this is legit. This is I can see what this is all about now. Because before that, it had been interesting. It had held my attention. It had me intrigued. But after that, I was like, do you know what? This is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, really, really enjoy it. The battle itself is obviously great, but the tease of the wildfire beforehand.
Yeah.
When, I think Tyrion goes in and says, "You're not going to be making wildfire for them anymore. You're going to be making it for me." And obviously, I sort of knew where that was going to go at that point. But you're just suddenly like, "Oh, you're in trouble, Stannis."
I asked this on the last episode. Whose season is this?
I think I said Tyrion last season.
You did.
And I'm going to say Tyrion again.
Tyrion season again.
I'm going to go with Tyrion. I can't remember who I said last season, but I'm going to say...
You said Joffrey.
Yeah, probably Tyrion. I think Joffrey is already sort of more solidified in this one, and he's a bit of a bitch in the Battle of Blackwater, so...
Tyrion season? Favourite character?
Tyrion?
Tyrion or Arya?
It's Tywin for me in this one.
Yeah.
I really started to get a bit of a sense of... I mean, my favourite character is Bronn in every single season, but for the purposes of this podcast, Tywin, for me, really started to feel like a big deal. I was like looking forward to his scenes more than anybody else's. Whether that's just the dialogue that Charles Dance delivers it with.
Well, he does have like the moment of Cersei's there ready to kill her children with the potion she gets given. Literally, she's there about, God, don't worry, it'll all be fine. Just drink this. And then in he comes on a horse into the, to save the day along with the Tyrells, obviously.
No. Tyrion's season,
Tyrion, I mean, despite the fact he nearly dies at the Battle of Blackwater.
Yeah, but he wins that
Pod
battle.
season, actually. Pod saves Tyrion, so it's pod season.
Oh, of course.
Every season's pod season to you, isn't it?
Yeah, even season 1. It's season 2. No.
He's not in season 1.
I know, yeah.
Still
It's
is.
the anticipation. Pod's coming. Season 2 is Pod. Season 3, he's got a magic dick. So there we go.
Anything that you think people don't remember about season 2? The things that you think people miss? Because when I sort of was recapping, as I say, there's a couple of things I'm always like, oh my God, I can't believe that was season 2. And like you say, the fact that he can't just kill his own mother for releasing Jaime, like a few really important things people completely forget about with season 2.
Well, a big moment in Arya's story, which I completely forgot that this happened in season 2, was Jack and Hagar.
When she meets Jack and Hagar for the first time.
Obviously, she frees him when the party gets attacked, and then she offers him the names. She gives him his own name so that he can help them escape and what have you. He's just great in that season. I really like Jack and Hagar.
Yeah, he peaked in that season, I think.
Yeah, it was a bit. The whole Jack and Hagar thing was a bit tedious later on, but it was such an unknowable then, such a really intriguing quality. Did you have any theories about it when you first saw it? Because obviously before you started the books.
Not myself, but I know like there was a lot of people saying like Serial Pharrell with Jack and Hagar and stuff. That was a big one back in the day, and that was probably the biggest about him, I think.
There's loads of theories about Jack and Hagar being other people, and some theories
like,
about.
Oh, he's Ned Stark. He's this guy. He's that guy. He's gone now.
That's a point. Did you feel Ned's absence in this? Because he was the biggest star of season 1. He was the central character. Most of the episodes sort of rotated around him. He was probably the biggest name cast member as well. And then season 2 comes around. He's not in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like doing season 2 of The X-Files without David Duchovny. Don't know why it's the first example that came into my head. It's like doing season 2 of Friends without Gunther. It's just the biggest character gone.
Obviously.
Did he feel missed?
Weirdly, I don't think he did.
I don't think he did either.
I think they do a great job, especially because you've got the Stark storyline continues so strongly with Rob. Like you realise you don't really need Ned there, although he's a great character.
You can feel his influence on other people, can't you? Like, Sansa is obviously very helpless in season 2 for large parts, but beyond that, the influence he's had on Rob, on Theon even as well, when obviously he goes home, but then obviously on Arya to look after herself. He's not missed, but he's represented, I suppose is the best way of putting it.
Favorite moment?
I mean, the Battle of Blackwater. If we're not going to go with the moment of the wildfire, I love Tyrion's speech. Those are brave men.
Shrit it down.
Let's go kill them.
Oh, that's quite good. That James.
Again, I think the moments he's highlighted there from Blackwater. The only other one I'd add is when the Hound turns on Joffrey, and he kind of goes
F the king.
F the king. That's a great character moment. Just that whole episode, though. It's every little character moment in that episode is just perfect.
It's just that, like, when he goes out there and he's before the battle, he basically says, the Hound this is, just say, if I see any man, I'm going to kill, blah, 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 blah. And then there's loads of guys. He obviously sees the wildfire, and then there's people running at him who are on fire, which I imagine is literally his worst nightmare. And he goes, you know what, sod this, give me some wine, I'm out of here.
I'm trying to think what mine is. I think it might actually be the very end, where the army of the Whites walks past Sam, because all of a sudden now you've watched the whole season. It's about a war. It's about a political drama. It's a family drama. And then at the end of that, you're like, oh, God, there's so much more than that. That brought me back for season 3 very comfortably. Boys, unless there's anything else you really want to add about season 2.
No.
Where does it rank for you overall? Because I know you said it was a transition.
I would say 5th so far.
Okay.
Battle of Blackwater, it sticks more in my head. So I think the first few episodes where stuff does happen, but it just sticks more in your head. 4th probably. There's far better seasons than it, but it's an important one, obviously, for the development of everyone. I suppose the later seasons you can argue are better because they've kind of got all the other stuff out of the way of like, here's the Red Woman, here's what she can do, here's so and so. It's now just let's just get on with it.
Yes, far better seasons, which we'll be discussing week on week on week on week right here on Got Culture. Game of Thrones is nice. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. We have been Adam Wilbourn. You can get him on Twitter.
At Adam Wilbourn.
James Hunt, you can get him on Twitter.
At James Hunt 182.
And I've been Adam Clery. You can get me on Twitter at Adam Clery, Clery. We are all What Culture GOT, which you will have to make an effort to actually start using now that the show's coming back in just a matter of weeks. Let us know what you made of all this, though, as well as what your favourite season 2 moments are in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. We've been Adam and James, and we will see you soon. Bye.
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 Bye.